This week, Archbishop Desmond Tutu's family will lay him to rest. Living well beyond him is his legacy of liberation and advocacy for justice and equal rights. Now, we know about Tutu's work alongside Nelson Mandela against South Africa's apartheid regime that oppressed the country's black majority. We know also about the work that Tutu did after apartheid ended to hold people accountable for their crimes. But another one of Tutu's principles didn't sway the heart of Africa despite his influence on the continent. And that is his international campaign for LGBTQ rights and same-sex marriage. As an African religious leader, he made some strong statements. In a 2013 rally in Cape Town, South Africa, Tutu said, quote, "I would not worship a God who is homophobic. I would refuse to go to a homophobic heaven. No, I would say, sorry, I would much rather go to the other place." And cue the chorus of backlash from other African religious leaders, many asking him to step down from his position in the church because of those views.
He was the rainbow leader. He didn't stick with one group, and he defended the rights of LGBT people in the Constitution. He defended the rights of former enemies. He saw everyone as having that potential human dignity if they turned. And that is the legacy that goes around the world. Can we be a group that says, it's not a zero-sum game? Can we be a humanity that says, my gain need not be your loss, your gain need not be my loss, we can both flourish and grow? And that is, I think, the greatest part of Tutu's legacy for the world.
But there was some progress. Data by the Pew Research Center showed double-digit increase in acceptance of homosexuality in South Africa and Kenya since 2002. So a 21-point increase in South Africa and 13-point increase in Kenya. But overwhelmingly, Africa is still a homophobic continent. Homosexuality is outlawed in 35 of Africa's 54 countries. This map here shows the few countries where homosexuality is legally punishable by death. Many LGBTQ Africans are subject to abuse, unemployment, and also being ostracized from their families. In northern Africa, in the country of Tunisia, a prominent LGBTQ activist says two men, one reportedly being a police officer, threw him to the ground and beat him. This just happened back in October, a few months ago. In Tunisia, being gay could get you up to 3 years in prison.
It's not the first time that I was attacked by a policeman, but I was really surprised because the attack was really horrifying. It was very violent, and it was really direct, and they was aiming to hurt me, and they was aiming the head and the neck. This is what was something really shocking for me, because for me it looks like they wanted to kill me or something like that.
Unfortunately, the attacks on LGBTQ in the U.S. and intolerance of gay black Americans in their own communities point to the fact that the anti-gay sentiment didn't get lost in the diaspora. So joining me now is national security law and foreign policy expert Johanna LeBlanc. Thank you so much for your time and insight this evening. Take us back in history if you can, Johanna. Where did the African homophobia kind of originate?
Well, first and foremost, we have to look at Africa as a continent is very religious, right? 95% of Africans are religious. 65% are consider themselves to be Christian, with 30% being Muslim. And as we know, both religions do not support, generally speaking, the notion of homosexuality. And also the idea of homosexuality to many Africans is a Western kind of thing, a Western culture or behavior, for goodness sakes, the way they phrase it, as is how it's perceived, unfortunately. But we know homosexuality existed even when Jesus Christ was walking on this earth. So I think those two main issues lead to the lack of acceptance of homosexuality. And also we have to look at the laws. Customary laws in many of these countries do not accept the notion of homosexuality.
Well, we've seen change kind of around the world. There's more acceptance now. Why does there seem to be more resistance possibly to change in, in Africa, on that continent?
Well, look at our own country right here in America. It was just several years ago that we legalized same-sex marriage. A country which has been independent. We've had our independence for over 200 years. And we have to look at the African continent as a continent. These are relatively baby countries. Most countries in Africa gained their independence in the 60s and the 50s, with South Sudan being the youngest country in the world, which gained its independence in 2012. So we have to be patient. I understand the frustration for lack of progress around LGBTQ rights across the African continent. But when we look at Europe, when we look at the United States, it has taken, it took a while for those countries to get to where they are. So I think we have to be patient with the African continent, because out of the 54 countries, we have 34 countries that have criminalized homosexuality. So that means there are a number of countries in Africa where, while there may not be laws in the books to protect LGBTQ per se, but the legislation is silent on the matter.
We want to focus on one of those countries. Ghana's new anti-LGBT bill would make it a crime to be gay, bisexual, or transgender. How do countries even enforce these laws, or even find out in the first place that somebody is LGBTQ?
Well, usually in a lot of these countries, you rely on the community to report such acts of gay behavior, gay acts. You look at Zambia, for example, where there are several men that were put to jail because of gay sex, unfortunately. But again, I think that as societies evolve, as societies progresses, as we traverse from one point within society to another point, ideologies shift, right? Perception shift. Again, look at here in America, the Christian church, the church in America is perhaps one of the most homophobic institutions that we have. But yet we have seen some progress in the church. Pastors such as Bishop T.G. Jakes, who have openly, to a certain extent, accepted homosexuality and LGBTQ rights and so forth. So we have to allow society to take its course, but at the same time, apply the necessary pressure that is needed to ensure that everyone is able to pursue life, liberty, and happiness, and are protected under the law.
Homophobia, we know, is not just an African sentiment. Do you think that how Black families respond oftentimes to homosexuality is informed by African and African-American culture? Well,
I will say that Black people, we are generally very conservative people. When you look at it in the context of white Americans here in this country, and sometimes even other groups. And why? It's because of Christianity. We have been taught by our pastors in the church that homosexuality is a sin. And also, if you're Black, you are an African. And we've had those sentiments brought to us during the slave trade. But what's important is that Africa has made some strides when you look at in terms of how long some of these countries have been independent. And we must continue the fight to ensure that everyone is protected under the law. And as you know, Desmond Tutu was the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, right? Which sought to ensure justice for victims of the apartheid. Well, South Africa and many countries across the African continent, you cannot fight for equal rights when the rights of LGBTQ individuals are not protected. So it is time for us to reimagine the world that we live in, and to be acceptable of other people in however way they come, or in however way that they were born, because it is the right thing to do, and it would be to cherish the legacy of Desmond Tutu.
So what needs to be done next? You know, Desmond Tutu, obviously, he wasn't able really to change many hearts and minds there on the continent. So what happens next to try to get some of that change to happen?
You know, I would disagree. I think that Desmond Tutu did change the hearts of people across the African continent. I mean, when you have someone of his status someone as prominent as Desmond Tutu was to stand up and stood beside the LGBTQ community and to make the statements that he have made before the international community. It has to have done something to the psyche, and I would say that some people's position changed because of Desmond Tutu's position, because of how prominent he was. But to continue the legacy of Desmond Tutu, I think that again, we must allow society to evolve, but at the same time apply the necessary pressure that are needed to ensure that the rights of everyone is protected, and also again to consider the idea that most African countries are baby countries, right? And again, look at America, over 200 years of independence, and look at when we were able to legalize same-sex marriage. So let us be patient with our African leaders, but at the same time apply the necessary pressure that is needed to ensure the rights for everyone is protected.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for your time and your insight on the matter. National security law and foreign policy expert Johanna LeBlanc. We appreciate you, and Happy New Year to you.